Hey guys, tonight we're staying up way past bedtime. The rain taps on the classroom windows like impatient fingers, counting down to something none of us scheduled. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, that low insect buzz that makes your teeth itch, and somewhere down the corridor a locker door sighs shut on its own. You know the sound. Metal on metal, soft but final. The way rumors close when no one's left to argue. I'm crouched by the side entrance of Ridgewood High, the one behind the gym that smells of wet rubber mats and old bleach. My phone flashlight carves a trembling cone through the dark, catching dust motes that drift like ash from a fire we haven't lit yet. You probably won't make it to morning after this one. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your location and local time in the comments. I read every single one, even at 3:17 a.m. when the screen is the only light left in the house. Now, dim the lights, maybe crack open a window for that midnight breeze, and let's walk the halls together. The side door sticks the way it always has since sophomore year, warped with swollen from too many spring storms. I wedge my student ID between the jamb and the latch, the same trick we used for smoke breaks behind the band room. The click echoes louder than it should, bouncing off cinder block walls painted that institutional beige that hides fingerprints and worse. Mia's behind me, hood up, breath fogging in the October chill that leaks through every cracked window. Jake brings up the rear, filming on his phone because he swears the algorithm loves found footage vibes. We're not supposed to be here. The building locked at 10, security patrol loops every 90 minutes. But the motion sensors in the West Wing shorted out last April after the lightning strike that took out the scoreboard. Official story, budget cuts delayed repairs. Unofficial story, the school board would rather forget the West Wing exists at all. We slip past the trophy cases, glass smeared with Windex ghosts, and the air changes. Less bleach, more chalk dust, and that metallic tang from the radiators when they first kick on. My sneakers squeak on the waxed floor. Every step announces us to whatever's listening. The PA system crackles once, a single pop like a knuckle, then falls silent. I tell myself it's just the building settling, but Ridgewood was built in 1958 on the footprint of the old Crestview Elementary that burned down during a science fair. Arson, they ruled, though no one ever found the accelerant. Kids still swear the basement smells like melted plastic on humid days. Mia nudges me. You hear that? Faint, under the rain, a piano note. One key, held too long, drifting from the music wing. Except the music wing is on the opposite end of the building, and the pianos were sold for scrap after the levy failed. Jake pans his camera toward the sound. The screen glitches, vertical lines crawling like ants. We keep moving. The dare started in the group chat 3 nights ago. Someone posted a grainy photo. The old science lab door, room 204B, padlocked since '89. Caption read, "Equipment still warm. Who's in?" Attached was a thermal image, blues and greens everywhere except a glowing orange handprint on a beaker. Photoshop, obviously, but the comments snowballed. 20 kids swore they'd heard bubbling after hours. 5 claimed the periodic table on the wall rearranged itself into chemical prayers. One senior said his dad, class of '87, lost 2 fingers to a Bunsen burner that lit itself. By midnight, the dare had rules. Enter after the last janitor leaves. Record everything. Touch nothing unless it touches you first. We reach the main hallway intersection. Moonlight spills through the skylight above the library, painting the floor in silver bars. Lockers lined both sides like soldiers at ease, combination dials frozen mid-turn. I trail my fingers over the cold metal. Someone's still got a faded class of 22 sticker peeling at the edges. The air smells of pencil shavings and the lavender soap Mrs. Holloway uses in the faculty restroom. Normal smells. Safe smells. I cling to them the way you cling to the last bell before summer. But then the temperature drops. Not a draft, something deliberate, like the building inhaled and held it. Jake's phone dies mid-recording, screen black. Mia's breath plumes white. And from the far end of the corridor, past the trophy cases, past the water fountain that drips in Morse code, comes the soft drag of chalk on slate. Slow, deliberate, writing equations no curriculum ever approved. Curiosity tugs me forward. My pulse sinks with the rain. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught. We follow the sound. Past the mural of the school mascot, a wolverine with one eye scratched out by generations of key-wielding seniors. Past the announcement board still pinned with flyers for the blood drive that never collected enough. The chalk dragging stops. Silence swells, thick as cafeteria tater tot grease. Room 204B waits at the end of the West Wing, door ajar for the first time in 36 years. A sliver of yellow light leaks out, warm and inviting, the color of old National Geographic pages. Mia whispers, "That's impossible." The power to this wing was cut in '05. Jake's already pushing the door. Hinges scream like they remember every student who ever skipped class. Dust billows, catching in our throats, tasting of copper and formaldehyde. The overhead fluorescents flicker once, twice, then hold steady. Impossible, because the conduits were stripped for copper years ago. And there, on the center lab table, sits a single beaker. Glass fogged from within. Liquid inside, clear but moving, slow spirals like it's dreaming. The burner beneath it glows cherry red. Warm. I reach out. My fingers brush the beaker's glass, warm as fevered skin, and a shiver races up my arm like static from a wool sweater in winter gym class. The liquid inside swirls lazily, catching the flickering fluorescent glow overhead, bubbles rising in patterns that almost look like handwriting, cursive loops spelling out warnings we can't quite read. Jake hisses, "Don't," but it's too late. The warmth seeps into my palm, and for a split second, the room smells like ozone after a storm, mixed with the faint, acrid bite of chemicals long evaporated. Mia steps back, her sneakers scuffing the linoleum that's cracked in places like old leather, tiles lifting at the edges where water damage from the '92 flood never fully dried out. Ridgewood's architecture is a patchwork, original brick core from the '50s, bolted on wings from the '70s when enrollment boomed, all tied together with HVAC ducts that snake through the ceilings like veins. The West Wing, though, was always the odd one out. Lower ceilings, narrower halls, designed for experimental learning before budgets slashed it shut. We stand there, frozen in the threshold, dust settling on our shoulders like forgotten confetti from a homecoming dance no one attended. The door behind us swings wider on its own, hinges groaning a low, mournful note that echoes down the hallway we just traversed. Cobwebs drape the frame like lace curtains in a grandmother's attic, and I swipe at them, threads clinging to my sleeve, sticky and cold. The rusted padlock lies on the floor, chain snapped clean, not cut, but broken as if something inside yanked it free. Jake kneels to pick it up, his flashlight beam dancing over the metal, revealing etchings. initials carved deep, dates from the 80s, and one word scratched repeatedly: leave. Mia laughs it off, nervous, the sound brittle in the still air. Probably just vandals. Remember that rumor about the class of '85? They said the substitute teacher locked kids in here for detention and never came back. That's the ghost story anchor for this place. Locals whisper about Mr. Harlan, the sub who vanished mid-semester, leaving behind a room full of unfinished experiments. Some say he mixed the wrong compounds, opened a rift or something. Urban legend stuff tied to the school's real history of lab accidents. In '89, a gas leak cleared the building for a week. Official report blamed faulty valves, but yearbooks from that era have pages torn out, photos of students with faces blurred by what looks like chemical burns. No one talks about it openly, but every freshman hears the tale. Harlan's shadow still paces the lab at night, repeating the same failed demo, equipment firing up on phantom power. Curiosity pulls us deeper. I step fully inside. The air thicker here, heavy with the scent of old paper. Notebooks stacked on shelves, yellowed pages curling at the edges like they're trying to escape. The black lab tables are scarred with Bunsen burner rings, graffiti etched in acid, equations half solved, hearts with arrows, and one faded message: time waits for no bell. Moonlight filters through the high windows, grimed with decades of neglect, casting elongated shadows that stretch across the floor like fingers reaching for our ankles. Mia pokes at a shelf, dislodging a vial that rolls toward the edge. I catch it just in time. The glass cool but the label warm to the touch. Specimen 47. Unknown catalyst. Jake's phone buzzes back to life suddenly, screen illuminating his face in harsh blue, and he starts filming again, whispering commentary like we're on some ghost hunting show. Guys, check this out. The oscilloscope's needle is twitching. He's right. In the corner, an ancient oscilloscope hums faintly, green trace line pulsing like a heartbeat monitor in the nurse's office. No plugs in sight. The cords dangle severed, insulation frayed as if chewed by rats. But the hum builds, a low vibration that resonates in my chest, syncing with the rain outside that's picked up, drumming harder on the roof like applause from an empty auditorium. We fan out, exploring. Mia flips through an old yearbook on the teacher's desk, pages sticking together with what feels like dried syrup, photos of kids in lab coats, smiling frozen smiles. One page shows a group around this very table, equipment gleaming new, and in the background, a mirror reflects something off, a figure not in the foreground, tall and blurred, like a substitute lurking just out of frame. Fear creeps in then, slow as the fog rolling off the football field after a night game. The humming grows, not just from the oscilloscope, but from the whole room. Centrifuges whirring softly, test tubes rattling in their racks like teeth chattering. I glance at the door. It's drifted shut, latch clicking with finality. Jake tries the handle, stuck. What the? Mia's voice pitches higher. That wasn't locked before. The lights flicker, bulbs buzzing louder, casting strobes that make our movements jerky, like old film reels in the AV room. And then, over the PA system. Wait, no, the speakers in here are disconnected, wires hanging like limp vines. But a voice crackles through anyway, faint and garbled, announcing a lockdown drill from years ago. All students remain in classrooms. This is not a drill. Except it's not the principal's voice. It's softer, pleading, with an echo that sounds like it's coming from underwater. We huddle by the center table, heart's pounding. I press my ear to the beaker again. That swirling liquid now bubbles audibly, heat radiating stronger. Jake shines his light inside. Tiny particles dancing, forming shapes. Faces? No, impossible. But there, in the reflection on the glass, I see it. Our own faces, but older, lines etched deep, eyes hollow. Mia gasps, pointing to the mirror on the far wall, the one above the sink where students washed off spills. In it, the room looks different, cleaner, brighter, with shadows moving independently, lockers visible through a doorway that doesn't exist anymore. Wait, lockers? This lab doesn't have lockers. Those are in the hallways. The revelation hits like the slam of a textbook on a desk. This isn't just abandonment, it's preservation. The equipment isn't warm from recent use. It's warm because it's never cooled down. The lab's caught in some loop. Harlan's experiment gone wrong, bending time like the warped mirrors in the funhouse at the county fair. That ghost rumor? Maybe it's not a ghost at all, but echoes of us, future selves warning back. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught, especially the ones that teach themselves over and over. The PA voice repeats, clearer now. Evacuate the West Wing. Containment breach. But the door won't budge. Cobwebs thicken in the corners, spreading like frost on a window. Jake pounds on the wood. Mia claws at the lock. The humming swells, equipment glowing brighter, and in the beaker's depths, a handprint forms. Mine, from when I touched it earlier, but reversed, like it's reaching out from inside. We need to get out. But the room feels smaller, walls inching in, lights dimming to a sickly yellow. And outside, in the hallway, footsteps approach, slow, deliberate, squeaking on the floor like dress shoes in an empty stairwell. The footsteps pause just outside the door, a hesitant shuffle like a student lingering before confessing to a forgotten assignment. I pull my hand back from the beaker, the warmth lingering on my skin like the afterglow of a radiator in the art room during winter finals. Jake freezes mid-pound on the door, his knuckles white. Mia clutches the yearbook to her chest, pages crinkling softly under her fingers. The air in the lab thickens further, textured with that chalky dust that coats everything, making our breath shallow and gritty. Ridgewood's layout flashes in my mind. The West Wing a dead-end appendage. No fire exits since the remodel in '76 prioritized energy efficiency over safety codes, leaving only the main corridor as escape. Blueprints from the school archives, digitized last year for the Historical Society, show hidden crawl spaces under the floors, but they're sealed with concrete after a rat infestation in the '90s. Realistic anchors like that keep me grounded, even as the supernatural creeps in. Curiosity overrides the lock and dread. I can't stop staring at the beaker. It's not just warm. It's pulsing now, the liquid inside syncing with my heartbeat, bubbles rising in rhythmic bursts like Morse code from a submarine movie we watched in history class. I lean closer, breath fogging the glass anew, and touch it again, deliberate this time. The surface yields slightly, almost soft, and a low hum vibrates through my fingertips, spreading up my arm like the buzz from the old intercom when it shorts during announcements. Instantly, the flickering lights stabilize. No, intensify. The fluorescents overhead surge brighter, casting harsh shadows that dance across the scarred tables, illuminating details we missed. A chalk outline on the blackboard, not erased but faded, depicting a molecular structure that twists into impossible loops, defying valence rules. Mia whispers, "That's not right. Carbon doesn't bond like that." But it's there, glowing faintly as if backlit by the projector's hum from the adjacent AV closet. The mythic element uncoils then, the cursed experiment rumor, whispered in locker rooms since the 80s. They say Harlan didn't vanish. He dissolved, molecule by molecule, in a botched demo meant to unlock temporal catalysis. Kids claimed the beakers absorbed him, keeping his essence warm, replaying his last moments in eternal replay. Supernatural bunk, sure, but as I touch deeper, pressing my palm flat, the liquid shifts. Faces form in the swirls, not random, but familiar. The blurred figures from the yearbook photo, mouths open in silent screams. One looks like Harlan, mustache and all, from the faculty portraits in the main office. The warmth spikes, searing now, and I yank back, but not before a whisper escapes the beaker, bubbling up as audible words. Release protocol initiated. Fear slams in like a hallway door caught in a draft. The lights flicker wildly again, strobing the room in epileptic pulses, making our shadows leap and merge on the walls. Jake stumbles back, tripping over a stool that wasn't there seconds ago, its metal legs scraping the floor with a screech like nails on the cafeteria trays. Mia drops the yearbook. It falls open to a spread of missing persons flyers tucked between pages. Students from 89, smiles frozen, last seen in this lab. The PA crackles louder, not just the lockdown announcement, but layered with echoes from decades ago. Attention, all students. Science fair winners to room 204B. Then, distorted, evacuation in progress. Do not touch the apparatus. Voices overlap, principals long retired, substitutes forgotten, all bleeding through speakers that shouldn't work. The announcements warp, speeding up and slowing down, like a tape recorder in the media center chewing its own cassette. Outside, the footsteps resume, closer, deliberate, squeaking on the rain-soaked floor we tracked in earlier. But no one knocks. Instead, the door rattles in its frame, as if pushed by wind from a stairwell that doesn't exist here. We back away from the table, huddling near the sink with its rusted faucet dripping steadily, each drop echoing like a countdown. The mirror above reflects not us, but a classroom full, desks occupied by shadowy students, heads bowed over warm beakers, lights flickering in sync. One turns, face pale, mouthing help. Mia reaches for the faucet, twists it. Water gushes brown at first, then clear, but steaming hot, fogging the mirror further. Jake grabs a nearby test tube rack, brandishing it like a weapon from shop class, but it slips from his sweaty grip, clattering to the ground. The humming from the oscilloscope peaks, needles spiking off the scale, and the entire room vibrates, shelves rattling, vials tinkling like wind chimes in the courtyard during lunch. That faint music from the announcement speakers earlier? It returns, a warped school anthem, notes dragging slow and off-key, as if played on a piano with sticky keys. I glance back at the beaker. My handprint lingers on the glass, but inside, tiny fissures spread, like cracks in the trophy case after a prank gone wrong. The liquid boils without flame, vapors rising in tendrils that smell of sulfur and nostalgia, burnt popcorn from movie night in the auditorium. Fear knots my stomach. We're not explorers anymore. We're intruders in a lesson that never ended. Mia's eyes dart to the windows, barred, of course, per the O5 security upgrade after a string of break-ins. No way out but through that door and whatever's on the other side. Then the revelation crystallizes, cold as the desks in first period homeroom. Touching the beaker didn't just warm it, it activated something. The flickering lights aren't random. They're pulses, syncing with the echoing announcements, replaying history in loops. Those voices aren't ghosts. They're recordings etched into the very air. The equipment holding memories like the old reel-to-reel in the basement archives. Harlan's experiment wasn't about chemicals. It was about time, trapping moments in glass, keeping them warm and alive. The announcements from decades ago, they're bleeding through because we stirred them, like shaking dust from an old yearbook. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught, but once started, they demand completion. The door handle turns slowly, metal grinding. We hold our breath. The room's hum drowning out the rain. The lights dim to a single bulb's glow, projector-like, casting elongated shadows that aren't ours. And in the beaker's depths, a new face forms. Mine, older, screaming silently as the liquid pulls it under. The door creaks inward, not with a bang but a whisper, hinges sighing like the last breath of a lecture fading into silence. No one stands there, just the empty hallway stretching back the way we came, moonlight pooling on the floor in jagged patches where the skylight glass has cracked over years of neglect. But the footsteps? They echo still, retreating now, squeaking down the corridor toward the stairwell that leads to the basement boiler room. I exhale slowly, the beaker's warmth still throbbing in my palm like a bruise from dodgeball in gym class. Mia edges forward, peering out. Jake grabs her sleeve, but she shakes him off. "It's clear," she murmurs, though her voice wavers, thin as the paper in those old yearbooks. The lab's hum softens behind us, the oscilloscope needle dipping back to 0, but the flickering lights hold their erratic rhythm, casting our shadows long and twisted against the lockers visible just beyond the threshold. We spill out into the hallway, the door swinging shut behind us with a soft click that seals the lab away again, or tries to. The air out here feels cooler, textured with the faint dampness from the rain seeping through the roof vents, but that metallic tang lingers, clinging to our clothes like the smell of dissection frogs from bio class. Ridgewood's building layout is a maze by design. Hallways branching like a choose-your-own-adventure book, with the west wing isolated by a single fire door that was supposed to prevent spread from the 58 fire, but now just traps echoes. The original blueprints, filed in the county records office, show emergency exits boarded up after budget audits in the 80s, leaving dead ends where rumors breed. We move cautiously, sneakers padding softly on the linoleum that's worn thin in spots, revealing the concrete subfloor like secrets peeking through. Curiosity draws me to the nearest locker, number 217, dial rusted halfway to 13, the combination every kid tried at least once. I spin it idly, the clicks loud in the quiet, and inside, forgotten papers flutter. A crumpled hall pass from 1992, signed by a teacher whose name rings no bells. But taped to the door's interior is a mirror, small, cracked, the kind kids used to check their hair between classes. I lean in, my reflection staring back. But wait, behind me, in the glass, figures move. Not us. Shadowy outlines, huddled around a table that isn't there, their forms flickering like the projector's glow in film studies. Mia notices, crowds in beside me. What the hell? Her breath fogs the mirror, but the figures persist, Clearer now, students in outdated uniforms, lab coats crisp, faces pale under the fluorescent hum. That's when the supernatural slips in deeper, the time loop myth tied to Harlan's downfall. Whispers in the cafeteria say the mirrors in this wing don't reflect the present. They replay lost moments, trapping souls in endless experiments. Missing students from '89, the ones in those tucked-away flyers, supposedly stepped into reflections and never stepped out. Their echoes pulling others in like a cursed chain letter passed under desks. One rumor claims a girl named Sarah touched her own shadow in the glass and vanished during a lockdown, her locker still echoing with faint knocks on rainy nights. I reach out, fingers brushing the cold surface, and the reflection shifts. Those shadowy figures turn, eyes locking on mine, mouths forming words I can't hear but feel. Join us. Fear surges then, cold as the water fountains trickle down the hall, the one that never quite shuts off. The mirror warms under my touch, just like the beaker, and the figures sharpen, details emerging. A boy with a scar on his cheek, a girl clutching an old yearbook, their clothes from another era but their fear timeless. Jake yanks me back, his grip bruising. Stop touching shit. But it's too late. The hallway lights flicker in sync with the mirror's glow, announcements crackling over the PA again, not the old ones, but layered with new distortions. Lab partners, report to Station 4. Our names echo faintly beneath, whispered like roll call in a substitute teacher's monotone. Mia tries another locker, 218, door ajar, and its mirror shows the same scene. But closer, the figures beckoning now, hands extended through the glass as if it were liquid. Shadows detach from the walls, slinking toward us, not cast by the lights, but independent, reflections without sources. We back away, hearts hammering like the bass from the homecoming dance speakers. The stairwell door at the end of the hall creaks open on its own, revealing steps descending into darkness where the basement hums with the boiler's eternal rumble. But in the mirrors lining the lockers, every third one has one, a relic from when the school installed them for student wellness. The scene multiplies. Dozens of missing students, looping through the same motions, pouring chemicals, flames igniting, then screams silenced as they dissolve into the glass. One reflection shows Harlan himself, tall and blurred, substituting in the background, his shadow elongating to engulf them. The PA whispers escalate, broadcasting fragments, temporal loop engaged. Subjects acquired. Rain pounds harder outside, wind rattling the windows like impatient knocks, and the floor seems to tilt, pulling us toward the mirrors as if gravity's rewritten. Jake smashes a mirror with his elbow, glass shattering like a dropped beaker, shards tinkling across the floor, but the fragments still reflect the figures, now fragmented too, piecing themselves back. Mia screams, short and sharp, as her own reflection warps, aging before our eyes, lines etching deep like chalk dragging on a board. Fear coils tighter. We're not just seeing ghosts. We're being drawn in, the timed loop experiments activating through the reflections, Harlan's curse mirroring our intrusion. The hallway feels endless now, lockers repeating in infinite regression within the glass, shadows multiplying like rumors in a group chat. Then the revelation crashes over me, heavy as the slam of a textbook in an empty classroom. These aren't just echoes, they're invitations. The mirrors show the missing students not as victims, but as recruiters, Their disappearance is a chain reaction from Harlan's botched loop. Time folded like origami in art class, trapping anyone who looks too long. Touching the beaker earlier, it synced us, warming the equipment to pull us deeper, reflections serving as portals to relive their fate. The announcements aren't warnings, they're protocols, activating the experiment anew. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught, but reflections like these force you to learn them anyway. We bolt for the stairwell, shadows nipping at our heels, mirrors cracking one by one as we pass. The basement door looms, PA system blaring our names now, clear and urgent. Subjects, proceed to containment. But down those steps, more mirrors, I bet, waiting in the dark like eyes in the rumor mill. The flickering lights chase us, hallway contracting behind like a closing accordion file in the office. And in every shattered shard underfoot, tiny faces watch, waiting for us to slip. We tumble down the stairwell, steps slick with condensation that smells of rust and forgotten mop water, our footsteps echoing upward like accusations chasing us from the hallway above. The basement door slams shut behind us, not by our hands, but with a finality that rattles the handrail, dust sifting down from the low ceiling like snow in a shaken globe from the gift shop at the school fair. Jake trips on the last step, phone clattering ahead into the dim glow of emergency lights that buzz faintly, their red exit signs flickering as if debating whether to let us through. Mia helps him up, her hand trembling on his arm, while I scan the space. The boiler room sprawls like the underbelly of the building, pipes snaking overhead in a tangle that mirrors the school's plumbing diagram from the maintenance logs. Exposed conduits for steam heat, installed in '65 when Ridgewood expanded to include the vocational wing, all mapped out in the district's online archives for anyone curious about why the heat always fails in January. No windows down here, just cinder block walls sweating moisture, and a single door leading to the utility tunnels that connect to the main building, rumored to be sealed after a flooding incident in 2001 that drowned the old file cabinets full of student records. The PA system crackles to life overhead, speakers bolted to the beams, wires frayed, but humming with power that shouldn't exist this far underground. At first, it's static, white noise like the hum of projectors warming up in the media center, but then voices bleed through. Not the old announcements, not Harlan's echoes. Ours. Guys, we need to get out. Jake's voice says, tinny and distorted, as if recorded through a locker vent. Mia freezes. That's what you just said upstairs. Curiosity hooks me. I tilt my head toward the speaker, straining to hear more. The boiler rumbles in response, a deep vibration that travels up through the concrete floor, warming our souls like the equipment upstairs never cooled. We creep forward, past stacks of old desks piled like forgotten homework, their surfaces etched with graffiti from detentions long past. Names, dates, and one recurring phrase. Listen to the bell. The mythic whisper builds then, the haunted PA broadcast legend, tied to the cursed classroom upstairs but extending its reach through the school's veins. Stories in the rumor mill say the intercom isn't just wires and amplifiers. It's a conduit for futures unspoken, broadcasting warnings from timelines where students didn't escape Harlan's loop. Missing kids from '89 supposedly heard their own pleas echoing before vanishing, trapped in a cycle where announcements predict and ensnare, the substitute's ghost manipulating the system like a puppet master in the shadows. One urban myth claims a boy named Alex hid down here during a prank, only to hear his adult self announcing his own obituary over the speakers, the words pulling him into oblivion. I edge closer to a speaker grill, rusted and dust-clogged, and touch it lightly. The metal warm, vibrating with the next broadcast. The door's stuck. We can't get back up. My own voice, laced with panic I haven't felt yet. Fear floods in, cold and swift as the draft whistling through a cracked basement vent. The announcements accelerate, layering our words from moments ago with futures we haven't lived. Mia's gasp, shadows in the mirrors, followed by a scream that's hers but sharper, cut off mid-breath. Jake's plea, "Don't listen," echoes back as "Don't listen, too late." The PA whispers multiply, speakers along the tunnel walls joining in a chorus that's out of sync, like overlapping classes reciting the pledge in adjacent rooms. We hurry deeper into the utility tunnel, concrete narrowing around us, pipes dripping condensation that plops onto our heads like accusatory fingers. Lockers down here? No, but storage cages line the sides, wire mesh reflecting our flashlight beams back in fragmented patterns, shadows dancing independently, as if remembering the mirrors upstairs. The air grows thicker, smelling of mildew and chalk dust that shouldn't reach this low, and the boiler's rumble syncs with the broadcasts, amplifying them until our ears ring like after a fire drill siren. Mia claws at a junction box on the wall, wires spilling out like entrails, trying to silence it. Maybe if we cut the power, but the metal shocks her, a spark jumping blue and hot. Her yelp broadcasting instantly over the PA, looped back with an added whisper. It won't stop. It never stops. Jake shines his light ahead. The tunnel forks, one path leading toward the main building's foundation, the other curving back under the west wing. But in the dim, reflections glint off puddles on the floor. Our faces staring up, distorted, mouths moving in silent mimicry of the announcements. The system blares louder. Run to the classroom. The cycle completes. Our voices, but future tense, pleading with past selves we no longer recognize. Fear twists my gut. The whispers aren't just echoes. They're lures, pulling us into the cursed classroom cycle, where time bends like the stairwell railings under too much weight. Shadows slink along the pipes, forming outlines of substitute teachers long gone, their forms flickering like bad connections on the old PA amp. We choose the fork toward the main building, hearts pounding in rhythm with the dripping water. The announcements evolve, broadcasting snippets of conversations we might have. The substitute's here, my voice says, followed by laughter that turns to sobs. Mia's reflection in a puddle warps, showing her trapped in a locker upstairs, banging on the door. Jake smashes his phone against the wall in frustration, screen cracking like the mirrors before, but the broadcasts continue, unaffected, whispering our regrets. We shouldn't have touched it. The tunnel seems to loop, walls curving in ways the building layout doesn't allow, bringing us back to the same junction over and over, each pass with louder PA taunts. Rumors flash in my mind. The basement isn't just storage. It's the heart of Harlan's experiment. The PA system wired to amplify temporal whispers, cursing anyone who listens too long to relive classroom horrors eternally. Then the revelation uncoils, sharp as the slam of a basement door in a windstorm. These aren't predictions. They're recordings from the loop itself, our voices from future iterations trapped in the system, broadcasting back to ensnare us anew. The haunted PA isn't haunted by ghosts. It's cursed by the classroom cycle, where Harlan's time experiment wires the building like a nervous system, announcements serving as synapses firing endless dread. Touching the beaker, shattering the mirrors, it all fed into this, warming the wires to pull our echoes from tomorrow. The missing students? They're the whispers now, their futures devoured, cycling through the speakers to recruit more. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught, especially when they echo your own doom before you speak it. We halt at another door, rusted, labeled classroom access, restricted, the PA blaring triumphantly. Welcome back to class. Shadows converge behind us, reflections in the puddles rising like steam. Mia turns the handle. It gives, leading upward to a stairwell we didn't descend. The broadcasts laugh, our laughter hollow and resigned. We're not escaping. We're recirculating, the cycle closing like a locker combination clicking home. We burst through the restricted door, the handle slick under my palm like the condensation on a cafeteria milk carton, stairs spiraling upward in a tight coil that smells of damp concrete, and the faint, lingering smoke from the boiler below. The PA whispers chase us, our own voices mocking from the speakers embedded in the walls. You can't outrun the bell. Mia leads, her breath ragged, Jake stumbling behind with his cracked phone clutched like a talisman from Lost and Found. The stairwell opens into a corridor we don't recognize. Not the West Wing, but something older, narrower, with lockers painted in faded blue from the original '58 build, before expansions swallowed the layout. Ridgewood's architecture hides these relics, forgotten passages mapped in the fire safety plans posted in every classroom, showing service halls for janitors that loop back to the main atrium, but rarely used since automation cut the staff in 10. We push on, the floor tilting subtly underfoot, as if the building shifts to hurt us. The announcements fade to static, then silence, but the hum persists in my bones, warm from the equipment we stirred awake. Curiosity, foolish, persistent, makes me glance back. Shadows pool at the stairwell's mouth, coalescing into a taller form, elongated like a reflection stretched in a funhouse mirror from the old carnival fundraisers. It moves, not with footsteps but a glide, dress shoes squeaking faintly on the linoleum as if remembering the motion. Mia whispers, "That's him." The substitute. We duck into a side classroom. Room 113, door unlocked, desks arranged in neat rows under dust sheets like ghosts at assembly. The blackboard holds chalk scrawls, equations mirroring the ones upstairs, but solved, ending in infinity symbols that loop endlessly. A yearbook lies open on the teacher's desk, pages turned to 87. Faces circled in red ink that smells fresh, metallic. The figure enters. No knock, just the door easing open with a sigh. Tall, blurred at the edges like a photo overexposed in the darkroom club, mustache trimmed, tie askew. Harlan, or his echo. The substitute ghost rumor solidifies here. Not a specter, but a remnant. Harlan's form preserved in the lab's temporal wake, patrolling halls to enforce the cycle. Myths say he appears to those who meddle, unveiling secrets that bind you forever, his touch dissolving resolve like acid on litmus paper. He doesn't speak at first, just stands under the flickering bulb, shadow pooling around his feet like spilled ink from a fountain pen. Class is in session. The PA crackles suddenly, his voice now, calm and instructional, broadcasting from speakers that sprout wires like veins into the walls. Fear grips us then, icy as the metal desks we huddle behind, their surfaces cold but warming under our touch, as if absorbing our heat to fuel the loop. Harlan steps closer, reflection in the classroom mirror showing not one but multiples, versions of him substituting in endless classrooms, each fading into the next. Jake lunges, swinging a loose chair leg pried from a broken desk, but it passes through, splintering on the floor with a crack like thunder in the auditorium during rehearsals. Mia grabs the yearbook, hurling it. Pages flutter, revealing clippings. Articles from '89 about the lab accident. Chemical anomaly traps time. Headlines faded, but the text pulsing warm. Harlan's hand extends, palm up, and the air shimmers, ripples like heat off the playground blacktop in summer. The secret, his voice echoes over the PA, is equilibrium. Touch the warm, and it touches back. We bolt past him, his form dissolving into mist that clings to our skin, cold yet burning. The hallway stretches ahead, lockers slamming open and shut on their own, spilling papers that whisper names of missing students. Reflections in the small mirrors inside show us sprinting, but slower each time, aging in the glass like time-lapse footage from biology class. The deadly secret unveils in fragments. The lab wasn't abandoned. It was quarantined. Harlan's catalyst creating pockets where time warms and warps, pulling intruders into infinite lessons, equipment eternally active to sustain the breach. The ghost isn't vengeful, it's custodial, maintaining the cycle to prevent spread, but confronting it forces revelation. Escape demands breaking the warmth, cooling the loop before dawn resets it. Revelation crashes like the final bell, sharp and liberating. We sprint toward the main atrium, hallway contracting behind us, walls inching closer like the narrowing of options in a multiple-choice test gone wrong. The PA blares our voices in panic. Dawn's coming. Hold on. Harlan's shadow pursues, stretching long, fingers grazing my heel with a warmth that numbs. Mia spots the side entrance, the one we entered through, moonlight fading to gray pre-dawn through the windows. Jake rams the door. It gives, hinges screaming. We tumble out into the rain-soaked parking lot, the building's hum cutting off as the threshold crosses our backs. The warmth ebbs from my skin, cold air slapping sense back. Behind us, the door clicks shut, lockers echoing one last slam inside. We don't look back, sprinting to the fence line as the first light crests, fragile and pink. The school stands silent now, fluorescence dimming through the windows, but I know the equipment stays warm, waiting for the next class. I think some lessons were never meant to be taught, but once unveiled, they graduate you forever changed. The rain eases to a drizzle as we collapse against the chain-link fence, breaths heaving in the chilled dawn air that carries the scent of wet asphalt and distant bus exhaust from the early routes. Mia leans her head back, eyes closed, a faint smile breaking through the terror like sunlight piercing classroom blinds after a storm. Jake checks his phone, screen fractured but alive. Time reading 5:47 a.m., the battery somehow full again. The school silhouette looms behind us, windows reflecting the paling sky, no flicker in the lights, no hum audible over the wind rustling leaves in the courtyard trees. Papers flutter inside one open vent, caught in a breeze that whispers faintly, but it could just be the morning settling in. I rub my palm, the warmth gone, replaced by a numbness that fades slow, like the echo of chalk dragging across a board long after the lesson ends. We don't speak at first, just listen to the silence, the absence of announcements, the stilling of shadows and the mirrors we left behind.